Thank you so much. It was so nice to see that big on the screen. Yeah, right.
This theater has good sound.
It has really good acoustics. Yeah,
Yes.
it really does. And the women, you know, I got it on my laptop, but you see it here so much more. They play with so much joy, you know. Have they been able to play again together?
Well, that's a good question. I'm wondering if we should bring Jen and Megan up to the stage as well. Can you come up here?
There's no drums?
Woo-woo! I will say that part of the answer is in the Taiko conference, the World Taiko conference.
Sure, the Japanese artists were able to meet and start playing together and doing performances, but the North American artists haven't gathered like that since. People have resumed performing now with their own groups, but we haven't been able to bring the gang back together yet.
Has the film been seen in Japan?
Not yet. The film is going to premiere in Japan in a virtual-only film festival at the end of this month.
And can you say, do you think that, have you seen an opening up of, you know, Taiko to younger generations, women? Or young girls playing?
One of the things I'd say is that when I went to Japan in 2019 and filmed, and there was a woman at Kodo who was performing, Chieko said, "Oh, it's so wonderful. She'll get all of these skills, but she'll never really be able to use them. And she won't be put on the stage. She won't be given a place center stage." And so the amazing thing is, by the time our film is over, you see in the 2021 footage that they're featuring the Her Beat artists in Japan. And so we haven't really even premiered yet, and we're already making cultural change.
Yeah, and also the exciting thing is, you know, over the last 40 years, now 2/3 of Taiko players are in fact women, but this idea that participation doesn't necessarily bring equity. So this film and kind of the energy around this film and the artists involved are changing that. And that's the exciting part, is like putting women in the narrative, putting women in charge, getting paid. Those are all things that we're very excited about, and now things really are changing, not only for Taiko, of course, for other industries. Like, it's past time for that. So we're just part of like that growing collective energy that makes more room for valuing women and their voices and their talents, but also for paying them.
She's got it all. Yeah.
Just the wonderful thing about this film for me as well is kind of the sticky point for me is for marginalized folks. Feel like right now is a really powerful time because the world is way more willing to be uncomfortable. And people are just coming out and getting center stage and realizing we don't have to ask to come center stage, that we can just bring the chair and produce for one another and as a collective, not just this is my one story. This is the definition of this art form. It's actually about a collective of us being on stage and supporting each other, producing each other, filming each other. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And I have to say that it was Dawn and Keri's idea from the very beginning of this project to make sure that the folks behind the camera reflected the folks in front of the camera. So our crew and the people who worked on this film and the production of it were either women, non-binary, queer or Asian or any combination of the above. And so that was fantastic because it was like family in front, family in back, family all around. And so it really created this this environment of trust and this environment where you really could be vulnerable and be creative and really push your limits. So kudos to Dawn and Keri for really having the vision and the leadership to make that happen.
And Caroline Stucky is in the audience, in the house, and she was second camera. There we go,
and
back
field
there.
Producer.
For the and field producer for the American part.
That's great. I'm going to open it up to the audience for questions. have any questions about the filmmaking or the performing? There you go.
I will just say I had a lovely time watching this movie. It was so inspiring. You guys were great. I mean, more than great, just awesome. Do you guys ever plan to do a U.S. tour?
We're in New York, so let's just put this out there that I think Taiko should come to Broadway. I would love to have a tour, a national and international tour. We're just kind of waiting for the right moment, for the right producer who has some deep pockets, but is willing to send this energy out into the world, because I would love for more people to see this live. Because as you know, there's nothing quite like that live experience. It's so visceral. So I would love to see that happen. Thank you.
We've also been at 15 or 16 festivals in the last 55 days. And at every question and answer, we get asked that question. So there's definitely an interest and a demand. So I'm down for that.
Any other? Yes.
For filmmakers, how did you even connect with these performers? Were you taking lessons with them? Or do you do Taiko yourself?
We're documentary filmmakers.
We have no rhythm. No. No. Jen and I have been friends for over 20 years now. And so we were having lunch one day and she started talking about this vision. And this was in, early 2018 that we were having this lunch. And she asked me if I wanted to document the concert in 2020, so they had it for posterity. And the more she talked about it and, bringing these women together and living in the same house for 2 weeks and, the caliber of performances and performers we were talking about, I was like, Jen, this is a film. And conveniently, Jen was super enthusiastic about that. And that's pretty much all you need is an enthusiastic Jen. And you're good to go. So, yeah.
And so Dawn and I know each other from this group of women filmmakers called the Film Fatales. And so we also met drinking wine on somebody's roof and got to know one another. And so we teamed up and so here we are.
It's a great group. Any other questions?
I would just be curious to know, a lot of people have talked about COVID and filmmaking as you either were about to start production and it was the worst thing ever, or you had just finished production and you're sitting there with your edit and you're feeling like the luckiest filmmakers as far as oh my God, we got it by the skin of our teeth. It's March 20th, 2020, you guys are, wherever you are, how are you feeling? Feeling okay, you just wrapped up your big event. What was going on in your head with that? Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world, but as it relates to the project.
Well, one of the things I'd say is that during the filming of the residency and leading up to that concert, we were all in a bubble of working 12, 14, 16-hour days, and there was really no listening to the radio. There was nothing. So we really didn't realize what was going on around us, and it really wasn't a pandemic yet, as you heard on the radio. And so we were grappling with it and struggling with it, but even we didn't really understand. It was too young of a situation in America. And so it became a character in our film, but it wasn't really taking over because we were the lucky ones who wrapped March 2nd of 2020, a 2-year production. Yeah, totally lucky.
Well, and the other piece to your point about being in an edit suite where you're alone and just focused on the work, and this increased that even more. And so, I'm not going to say the pandemic was fun in any stretch of the imagination. I will say, however, that this film brought so much joy and so much mental health stability for me when I was working on it. To see all of this joy and all this, happiness. And then when I first started going through the NBC News footage of the weeks during the residency and realizing exactly how close we were and what those news reports were saying as the residency was happening, I remember that there were weeks where I was just like, I had the chills every time I was editing because I was like, I was just so close. Yeah.
And then for the editing process, I think that COVID really helped, at least helped me. I did the first pass on the film, and there's no way that in a normal world I would have that much time, 12, 14-hour days, month after month, to take 200 hours down to 8. And so we benefited in that way. And I think Dawn and I never really thought that it might not happen. I think Jen might have a different story.
So, this concert was sort of the peak of my artistic career. So much happened. You gave so much. We were, it was just this big, exciting thing. And then the concert was over. Not only was the concert over, like all life and social life ceased. And so, like, I crashed. Honestly, I crashed hard. I crashed for like 2 years where I was pretty depressed. And then now coming out of that to perform again, and now this film is, kind of given everything new life and has been actually quite healing for me. So I'm very grateful for that. And I just wanted to shout out in the room also Tiffany Tamarabuchi. Woo! Yeah, one of the spirits and the masterminds behind all of this. So Tiffany started so many of us on this road and has been such a great leader and inspiration all along the way.
Yes, and as a former student of Tiffany Tamarabuchi for several years, yes, I echo that greatly. I would say as we finished, we wrapped up Heartbeat. Imagine you're about to maybe, if you're going to celebrate holidays, maybe host maybe 6 people. Imagine hosting 18, speaking different languages and staying a really long time. So I was exhausted, but what really stands out for me and what stood out for me is that a lot of these artists are from a country where they are considered a national treasure, where they have given their lifetimes to learn their art. And it was really powerful that so many people, including people who've been drumming for healing and for purging demons on Sado Island, and also many, many groups who only perform to heal the human race, that so many of us were on the stage and we were drumming to the center of the earth. And I feel that we, and you can call me crazy, I feel that we put off the pandemic even further than it, and we made it less bad by our healing drumming. So I hold on to that very much.
I thank you so much. This is fantastic, very inspiring for women, people of diversity, different backgrounds. My question is, what has happened with the response from the traditional, that this is men? Have they reached out? Is there a collaborative effort coming forward?
I would say that there has been, pretty much across the board, this has been embraced. And, just to tell you a very quick story, there's this one gentleman in the art, and he's pretty well known. And when we were talking about this idea of gathering these artists, he was like, I don't get it. Why do you need your own special concert? Women can do anything. You can drum, you can lead, you can do what you want. And then after seeing this film, he emailed me privately and said, oh, I got it. And guess what? I'm promising to do better. For the rest of my life, I will do better. And I was like, yes! If nobody else sees this, I'm like, that is one heart change and somebody that I know will make a difference. And so it's been wonderful. And then from the film side, there's been a lot of champions of the film that are men that have really opened the doors and used their privilege and their access to help us and to advocate for us. And that's how we got the Skywalker sound mix. And so, in that way of this is for everyone. This makes the world better for everyone. And I've been really relieved and grateful at the wonderful support we've been getting from all genders for this film.
Yeah, and a lot of the people who have spoken with us and been reporters have admitted that they've cried. A lot of the men have said that they've cried. And so, that's just the best.
Yeah.
Crying men, we like that.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any? Okay, right.
Firstly, I just want to say thank you because tonight was extraordinary because you took this ancient art form and you lifted everyone and the women came together and I just hope it has a great, huge life because what you're doing is you're creating a movement and you're opening a door. And it also makes me think about the ancestors of this art form and how you've brought them forward and how they're also in the room. And so it really is a holy movie that you've made. And I want to say thank you. Thank you.
I have a question for the filmmakers. How was it different from all the other films that you made before this one?
Well, I would say that for me, I'm used to directing and producing my own films. And so now I understand working with Dawn and working with Jen and Megan, how much more we can get done when we work together. And then I had never had the opportunity to have the kind of support to do a cinema verite film and to have two cameras on the action at all times. And so to have Shiho Fukada in the house in Japan and Caroline Stucky here, it was tremendous, and it gave me a great opportunity to grow as an artist.
And as for me, I would say, this is my 6th feature documentary, and they all have joy in them. Like, I don't want to diss my past work. However, I will say that it is so exciting to work on something so joyful. So, I think that a lot of documentaries live in trauma, and they need to. We need to explore trauma in order to heal. But this film was farther down the road to healing, and it's kind of what I needed at this point. So, yeah.
And I just want to say how thrilled, like genuinely thrilled I am to be a part of a production that fills the screen with Asian women who are powerful, who are beautiful, who are not in trauma. Like, yes. I don't get to see that ever. So I'm so thrilled for what they've done here with this film.
And on that note, we are out of time. So thank you very much for sharing your film with us. We wish you big success with it.
Thank you. Thank you.